Imagine living in a state where you have to deal with wildfires, droughts, floods, earthquakes, power outages, homelessness, pollution, and high taxes. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, that's the reality for millions of Americans who live in one of the 10 states that will go downhill in 2024. In this video, we are going to reveal which states are facing the most serious challenges and risks that could make them less attractive and more unstable in the near future. Stay tuned to find out if your state is on the list. Number 1, California. California is the most populous and the richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most troubled ones. California has been struggling with a series of crises, such as wildfires, droughts, floods, earthquakes, power outages, homelessness, pollution, and high taxes. According to the U.S. News and World Report, California ranks 50th in fiscal stability, 49th in opportunity, and 44th in quality of life. California also has the highest poverty rate in the nation, with 17.2% of its population living below the federal poverty line. California's economy is heavily dependent on the tech industry, which is facing increasing competition and regulation from other states and countries. California's political climate is also very divisive, with a growing gap between the liberal coastal areas and the conservative inland regions. In 2024, California will face a gubernatorial election, a possible recall of Governor Gavin Newsom, and a potential secession movement by some of its counties. All these factors could make California a less attractive and more unstable state in 2024. Number 2, New York. New York is the 4th most populous and the 3rd richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most expensive and crowded ones. New York has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, which has claimed over 60,000 lives and caused over $300 billion in economic losses. New York has also seen a surge in crime, violence, and social unrest, especially in New York City, which has witnessed a mass exodus of residents and businesses. New York's tax burden is among the highest in the nation, with an average state and local tax rate of 14.1%. New York's infrastructure is also aging and deteriorating, with frequent delays, breakdowns, and accidents affecting its transportation, water, and energy systems. New York's political scene is also chaotic and scandalous, with Governor Andrew Cuomo facing multiple allegations of sexual harassment and corruption. In 2024, New York will have to deal with the aftermath of the pandemic, the recovery of its economy, the reform of its public services, and the renewal of its leadership. All these challenges could make New York a more difficult and stressful state in 2024. Number 3, Illinois. Illinois is the 6th most populous and the 5th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most indebted and corrupt ones. Illinois has the worst credit rating of any state in the U.S., with over $140 billion in unfunded pension liabilities and over $8 billion in unpaid bills. Illinois also has the 2nd highest property tax rate in the nation, with an average of 2.16%. Illinois' economy is sluggish and stagnant, with a low growth rate of 0.9% and a high unemployment rate of 7.1%. Illinois' crime rate is also high, with a violent crime rate of 404.7 per 100,000 residents and a homicide rate of 7.8 per 100,000 residents. Illinois' politics are also notorious for being dysfunctional and dishonest, with 4 of its last 7 governors being convicted of federal crimes. In 2024, Illinois will have to face the consequences of its fiscal mismanagement, its economic underperformance, its social instability, and its political distrust. All these problems could make Illinois a more miserable and hopeless state in 2024. Number 4, Louisiana. Louisiana is the 25th most populous and the 24th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the poorest and unhealthiest ones. Louisiana has the highest poverty rate in the nation, with 19% of its population living below the federal poverty line. Louisiana also has the worst health outcomes in the nation, with the lowest life expectancy of 75.6 years, the highest obesity rate of 36.2%, and the highest infant mortality rate of 7.6 per 1,000 live births. Louisiana's economy is dependent on the oil and gas industry, which is vulnerable to fluctuations in prices and demand, as well as environmental disasters such as the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Louisiana's environment is also threatened by coastal erosion, land subsidence, sea level rise, and hurricanes, which have caused severe damage and displacement in recent years. Louisiana's culture is rich and diverse, but it is also plagued by racial and social inequalities, as well as a legacy of slavery, segregation, and discrimination. In 2024, Louisiana will have to cope with the challenges of poverty, disease, disaster, and injustice. All these issues could make Louisiana a more desperate and dangerous state in 2024. Number 5. West Virginia. West Virginia is the 38th most populous and the 50th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most isolated and depressed ones. West Virginia has the lowest median household income in the nation, with $44,097. West Virginia also has the highest drug overdose death rate in the nation, with 52.9 per 100,000 residents. West Virginia's economy is reliant on the coal industry, which is declining and dying due to competition from natural gas and renewable energy, as well as environmental regulations and lawsuits. West Virginia's education system is also failing, with the lowest high school graduation rate of 84.8% and the lowest college attainment rate of 21.1%. West Virginia's population is also shrinking, with a net loss of over 60,000 residents since 2010. West Virginia's politics are also polarized and radicalized, with a strong support for Donald Trump and a resistance to Joe Biden. In 2024, West Virginia will have to face the realities of economic decline, social despair, educational backwardness, and demographic decline. All these factors could make West Virginia a more isolated and depressed state in 2024. Number 6. Mississippi. Mississippi is the 34th most populous and the 49th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most backward and oppressed ones. Mississippi has the second highest poverty rate in the nation, with 19.6% of its population living below the federal poverty line. Mississippi also has the worst education system in the nation, with the lowest test scores, the lowest funding, and the lowest teacher pay. Mississippi's economy is based on agriculture, manufacturing, and gambling, which are low-skill, low-wage, and low-growth sectors. Mississippi's healthcare system is also inadequate, with the highest uninsured rate of 18.4%, the highest maternal mortality rate of 44.5 per 100,000 live births, and the highest COVID-19 death rate of 2,487 per million residents. Mississippi's history is also marked by violence, oppression, and injustice, especially against its African American population, which makes up 38% of its total population. Mississippi's politics are also conservative and reactionary, with a strong opposition to civil rights, abortion rights, and gay rights. In 2024, Mississippi will have to deal with the challenges of poverty, ignorance, stagnation, sickness, and discrimination. All these factors could make Mississippi a more backward and oppressed state in 2024. Number 7. Alaska. Alaska is the 48th most populous and the 14th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most remote and extreme ones. Alaska has the highest cost of living in the nation, with an index of 151.9 compared to the national average of 100. Alaska also has the highest suicide rate in the nation, with 27.1 per 100,000 residents. Alaska's economy is dependent on the oil and gas industry, which accounts for 85% of its state revenue and 25% of its jobs. Alaska's environment is also exposed to the effects of climate change, which are melting its glaciers, permafrost, and sea ice, threatening its wildlife, ecosystems, and indigenous cultures. Alaska's population is also sparse and diverse, with a high proportion of Native Americans, military personnel, and immigrants. Alaska's politics are also unpredictable and independent, with a mix of libertarian, conservative, and progressive views. In 2024, Alaska will have to adapt to the changes in its environment, economy, society, and governance. All these factors could make Alaska a more remote and extreme state in 2024. Number 8. Florida. Florida is the third most populous and the fourth richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most vulnerable and controversial ones. Florida has been a hotspot for the COVID-19 pandemic, with over 3.5 million cases and over 60,000 deaths. Florida has also been a battleground for the 2020 and 2024 presidential elections, with a razor-thin margin of votes and a fierce partisan divide. Florida's economy is based on tourism, agriculture, and trade, which are susceptible to shocks and disruptions, such as the 2020 recession, the 2021 condo collapse, and the 2023 Everglades fire. Florida's environment is also endangered by hurricanes, floods, heat waves, and sea level rise, which have caused billions of dollars in damages and losses. Florida's culture is also diverse and dynamic, with a large influx of immigrants, retirees, and snowbirds, as well as a vibrant arts, entertainment, and sports scene. Florida's politics are also complex and contentious, with a clash of ideologies, interests, and personalities such as Governor Ron DeSantis, Senator Marco Rubio, and Representative Val Demings. In 2024, Florida will have to cope with the impacts of the pandemic, the election, the economy, the climate, and the culture. All these factors could make Florida a more vulnerable and controversial state in 2024. Number 9. Hawaii. Hawaii is the 40th most populous and the 39th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most isolated and dependent ones. Hawaii has the longest distance from the mainland U.S., with over 2,000 miles of ocean separating it from the nearest state, California. Hawaii also has the highest dependency ratio in the nation, with 52.6% of its population being either under 18 or over 65 years old. Hawaii's economy is reliant on tourism, which accounts for 21% of its GDP and 26% of its jobs. Hawaii's environment is also fragile and unique, with a high biodiversity, a volcanic activity, and a tropical climate. Hawaii's culture is also rich and diverse, with a strong influence of Native Hawaiian, Asian, and Pacific Islander heritage, as well as a history of colonialism, annexation, and statehood. Hawaii's politics are also dominated by the Democratic Party, which has held the governorship, both Senate seats and both House seats since 2012. In 2024, Hawaii will have to deal with the challenges of isolation, dependency, tourism, environment, culture, and politics. All these factors could make Hawaii a more isolated and dependent state in 2024. Number 10. Texas. Texas is the second most populous and the 9th richest state in the U.S., but it is also one of the most rebellious and defiant ones. Texas has the largest land area and the longest border of any state in the U.S., with a strong sense of identity, pride, and independence. Texas also has the most powerful and influential economy in the nation, with a leading role in energy, technology, agriculture, and trade. Texas' environment is also diverse and extreme, with a range of landscapes, climates, and natural resources, as well as a history of droughts, floods, storms, and freezes. Texas culture is also distinctive and colorful, with a blend of Southern, Western, Mexican, and American influences, as well as a legacy of cowboys, oilmen, and astronauts. Texas politics are also polarized and radicalized, with a strong support for Donald Trump and a resistance to Joe Biden. In 2024, Texas will have to face the consequences of its rebellion and defiance, such as the 2021 power grid failure, the 2022 abortion ban, the 2023 border crisis, and the 2024 secession movement. All these factors could make Texas a more rebellious and defiant state in 2024. These are the 10 states that we think will go downhill in 2024. Of course, this is not a definitive list, and things could change for better or worse depending on various factors and events. We hope that this video has given you some insights and perspectives on the current and future situation of these states. If you have any thoughts or feedback, please let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.